2022 or 22. Sorry, I did a whole thing just now talking about Silverstone being the site of the first round of the World Drivers' Championship, now called Formula One, and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, apparently, my OBS decided it's not going to stream it. And then I looked at moderator panel and saw that I was still offline, and so yeah, I'm not going to go through the entire thing again. We're at Silverstone, a couple of people having issues with setups and so on and so forth that they've seen, so this should be an interesting race. Let's hope that people get through it. And I don't remember it, Elf. The moment it comes out of my mouth, it's gone. So yeah, we've got a couple of people that we haven't necessarily seen in the House of Esports League previously. So looking forward to having them on the grid. But yeah, let's hop across to the live feed. Brand new overlay. Thank you to the designers from the House of Esports for creating it. It has been a while coming, and now finally it is there. Please give us feedback on the overlay, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. So yeah, thank you for joining us in the chat, and let's head out and see who is closest to starting a lap. It is Quinton. We know Quinton is incredibly quick, so let's follow him around for this lap of the Silverstone circuit, and hopefully he gets a decent lap in. He has had a couple of issues on the last couple of rounds, but let's see what he can do this time in that McLaren. So a huge number of corners around this track, and many of them are named. I do not do not profess to know all the names. I'll see if I can find a track map somewhere where I can just get the names up somewhere so I can keep an eye on them. But yeah, so many names around here, so much history around this track. As I said, the first round of the World Drivers' Championship, now Formula One, was raced around this track. So lots of history. This is obviously the Hamilton Straight as of last year. I do believe I was into Stowe, if I recall correctly, which is where Hamilton and Verstappen had that coming together, and Verstappen went more Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel going through here. Incredible complex of corners, and then down the hangar straight, which was literally a hangar, or at least next to a hangar. So yeah, incredible track here. And we'll head down towards the club chicane, which is this next bit, which leads us on to the start-finish straight. Quinton having a decent looking lap so far, looked quite nice and tidy. First lap of the session comes around the final corner, and 1:27.873. I know a couple of people were trying to push a 1:26 flat in time trial, so we'll see how they go. Yeah, okay, so my laptop is doing all sorts of weird things, and the mouse is jumping all over the place. Venom, oh sorry, I will send you an invite now. Sorry, I did think I sent you an invite just now, but let me right now. Venom, there it is. Okay, invite sent. Elf, yes, Red Bull indeed very much OP. Max was salty he didn't win, but like I kind of understand. Like he did everything right and then taken away by mechanical failure. He does not handle mechanical failures well, or I think it's the sort of thing that he really wants to be able to just go out there and prove himself, and that be the end of it. And because of that mechanical failure, he had to fight all his way through. Ended up however far back from Checo, and Checo held really well. So like I don't think he took anything away from Checo, but at the same time it's a situation where he was a little pissed off with the team. Yeah, his dad is honestly like something else. I feel like Red Bull should actually ban Jos Verstappen from the from the paddock, just to try and improve Max's mood, improve Max's attitude, and just to, in general, get him back to where he needs to be. Hamilton and Charles Leclerc are definitely questioning their life choices at the moment. I think Charles almost more than Hamilton. Hamilton doesn't seem to be questioning his life choices. He seems to have completely checked out of them at this point, whereas Charles still seems to be just questioning. Okay, so I'm finally managing to try and pull up a picture of the circuit, but everything is frickin' fighting me on this. Does that work? That does indeed work. Okay, right. I have a picture of the circuit, so I should be able to call out the names as we go along. So Nico B, currently the only person that is being shown on an outlap. Of course, it puts us on board. Can you guys actually hear me when it's on board? Okay, cool. As long as you guys can hear me when it's on board, because that onboard is so incredibly loud. Oh, speaking of that, I don't actually need my headphones to be on, so let's just take those off so I can actually hear what's going on, so I don't need to be shouting into the microphone. Good evening, Venant, and welcome to the chat. So yeah, as I was saying, incredibly historic circuit. As who is this? This is Nico going down the. Which one is he on? That was the village straight into Brooklands and through Luffield now. So every corner has a name, every corner has history. We've got the Wellington Strait, which is this one over here, and I'm pretty sure the Wellington Strait. Oh wait, no, sorry, this is not the Wellington Strait. Wellington Strait was the previous one. This one I'm pretty sure is the Hamilton Strait now, and then into Cops, and then finally into Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel, which is, as I said before, an absolutely incredible series of corners. I'll try and speak a little bit louder when I see we go on board, but I'm not being deafened by it, and I can't turn down the volume of my I think that's common, having some massive connection issues in the background. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Nico coming down towards the Vale corner, Vale chicane, and then the club. I don't know if this is club or if Vale if club is the chicane as well. Yeah, Common is absolutely vibing in the background there. Let's actually follow him around and see how bad it is on board. Maybe it was just the weaving that was causing that massive moment there. But yeah, that was quite interesting to see. But he looks pretty stable on the run. I have asked the guys to be a little bit careful just with the amount of lag that we saw even in the lobby. So the lobby had a situation where I literally had a yellow and orange connection to myself, which yeah, that was interesting. I mean, it's one of those situations where EA claim that the game is peer-to-peer, that it's just connections between people, but how, if it's peer-to-peer, can I have an orange connection to myself? That doesn't make sense, EA. So obviously, like, it might be peer-to-peer, but yeah, no, it's not well done. And hopefully, I'm sure we all hope that F123 is going to be better. I mean, I watched the beginning of Yano's the video of the PSGL round 8 where he's basically said he's not bothering anymore. Because I mean, between the cheating and between the fact that the game is just shockingly bad at this point, that he's done with the F1 series of games. And like, that is the level it's gotten to. This is one of the fastest guys in the world. This is one of the guys who absolutely has spent every hour of every day for the last however many years playing this game and trying to get as good as he can, throwing away all that work because the game is that broken. And yeah, not common, going to 6th position. So not the greatest lap, but not necessarily a bad lap either. But yeah, there it is. Just seeing a couple people not setting lap times at the moment. I'm not 100% sure why that might be. So yeah, Bunkies, KQ Microstatic, Gokes, and Venom not setting laps. Obviously Venom having those connection issues. Not sure about the others, but I'm sure they'll go out a little bit later. Just need to send a couple of the semi-obligatory reminders about telemetry. Just seeing Bernke's not in the race, so that's quite interesting. He is actually showing as AI on my telemetry, so that would be why his telemetry isn't showing, but I do have to send one more telemetry message before we get into the race itself. But yeah, a couple of people setting decent laps. Bubbles on a 26.9. As I said, I actually know he was pushing towards the 26s, 26 dead in his time trial time. So yeah, Bubbles needing to push a little harder, gets onto his next lap, down towards the first corner, and away he goes. So we'll actually ride on board with him while I send my messages. Alrighty, so Scott Guerrero is going to the top of the times as we were messaging the person in question. And great time there, 26.683. So the track is definitely rubbering in at the moment as we're on board with Humid. So Humid currently at 127.612. So he's got some work to do. And he is coming through here. Looks like he is on a lap. He has been pushing it and hitting those apexes. Goes quite nice and wide there. Yeah, coming down towards the final couple of corners. We'll see how he stacks up against the other guys and see what he does. Comes across the line and goes into 4th position, so climbs a single place. So you can see how hard the guys up at the top are having to push and getting very little advance on their lap times. But that is what we like to see. The top, however many, let's see, have a look, and it's the top 5 all within a second of each other, and then 1.5 seconds and 1.6 seconds for Common and Mars. So yeah, a decent spread of the field, but at the same time we've got more people within a second than we have had previously, which is always incredible to see. So yeah, let's see how Nico Bigo gets through. He's going through farm at the moment into village now. such interesting names. We saw, I think that may have been Worm Puzzle. Yeah, I think that was Worm Puzzle spinning out there as Nico goes down the Wellington Straight and into Brooklands, then through into Luffield. Luffield is so difficult to get right because it is, let me just send an invite to Quentin. Surely by now Quentin should know that he should be requesting invites on the Twitch, but yeah, anyway, I'm not going to say more as Nico goes very deep there. So he will have had to blade off the throttle through, that was Cops, and going into Maggots and Beckett's. At least Maggots and Beckett's is pretty quick and you don't lose too much time down that little straight going towards it. But now on the hang straight he has to absolutely pin it, and he has to get Stowe exactly right. So Stowe, this corner coming up here, incorrectly I named it Cops earlier, but this is Stowe, goes through there. Quentin, I did send you an invite just now. Let me send you another one. Hopefully it gets through to you. There we go, invite sent. So please, if you don't get it, you'll just need to restart your machine, or at least restart the game. Quentin has joined, that's perfect to see. Nico gets another lap under his belt. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize we were still on locked on board. So yeah, Marsh currently on an outlap. Bubbles actually coming towards Maggots and Beckett's. So we'll follow him through Maggots and Beckett's, and then finally through that final section down the Hanger Straight into Stowe, Vale and Club, and see what he can do. Let's see, does he get a little bit of a tow by that AlphaTauri? Hopefully the AlphaTauri does not impede him, because that would be quite frustrating. It looks like the AlphaTauri does have a decent turn of pace, but is in charge mode, goes into the pits, may have given him a little bit of a distant toe there. Flash of someone on the line there. KQ, yes, indeed, has joined us. Marsh retired from the session, so we were going to have a look and see what was going on there. But I think he has come into the pits and decided that he's not going to do much better than he did. Bubbles, 3,000ths of a second off Scott's time. This is going to be an absolutely incredible battle if that's the pace that these guys have. I know Marsh and Humid probably have more in the tank. Humid coming out now to try and prove that. Quinton, we have seen be incredibly quick as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him put in another blistering lap. So we have a decent fight on our hands up at the top. As you mentioned, Elf, KQ Microstatic is indeed joining us for this round as well, and hopefully going forward as well, coming to the end of his outlap. So we'll actually follow him around on this lap as he goes through the final corner and across the line, now heading down towards turn number 1, which I just need to reopen my map. I managed to close it somehow. So into turn number 1, which is Abby. Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant work from the HOE guys. Thank you so much for providing that for us. It's been it's been a long time coming, and that has been partly because I needed to make a decision on exactly what layout I wanted, and they were incredibly patient with me. Got it done, and yeah, it absolutely great to have a proper overlay. And yeah, with the sponsors in the bottom left, great that we have those sponsors there. But yeah, KQ Microstatic going down towards Cops will throw that Red Bull in as fast as he possibly can. This is his only timed lap so far. It looks like it is going to come at the very end of the session. If he makes any mistakes here, he will end up at the back of the grid without a time. So hiding his hand until the very end, Peter Null retiring from the session, I do believe that is just to accelerate the end of the session. Now going down the hanger straight down towards Stowe. Looks like he's taking a pretty aggressive line into there, getting all the way to the outside of the corner, throwing it to the apex. Doesn't take much curb on the apex of the corner. Takes a decent amount of apex on or curb on the exit, and a little bit of lag there as he comes through Vale and Club, through the final corner and crosses the line, goes up into 6th position. So not a bad lap by KQ Microstatic, but we do have both Quinton and Humid behind him. So we'll follow Humid around. He is ahead at the moment. Quinton in 5th place, and I'm just trying to see what their times are like. It looks like Quinton did get a better time through the first sector by about a 10th. So Humid not feeling comfortable in the first sector, but let's see if he's got maybe a slower downforce set up. The second sector is a little bit quicker, and so let's see what we get at the end of the second sector. That is coming through now. Quinton gets a 35.938 through the second sector, and Humid is indeed faster in the second sector. So Humid gets a 10th there. So they're at about neck and neck between Humid and Quinton coming through into the final sector. It's all down to the final sector, and Humid has pushed a little bit too far, but so has Quinton. So the two of them pushing way too far. On that final sector, both of them invalidating on that final sector after setting decent sector times for the first and second sector. So the quali coming to an end. It was an incredibly quick quali, I must say. So Scott Barreras out in front, 126.683. As you can see, that 3,000th of a second gap between him and Bubbles, Marsh, Humid, and Quinton. And Venom as well. Venom pulling in a great lap towards the end there. Within a second, KQ Microstatic just outside of a second. Then it's Moz, Common, Nico, Worm Puzzle, Peter Null, Italian Legend, and Gokes. Bringing up the rear, Bunkies did not qualify. He showed his AI pretty much all the way through. Humid running all 4 of his soft tires, so he does not believe he's going to need any of those tires for the race itself. I saw someone drop out of there. I think it was Venom. So I will try and re-invite Venom as soon as he sends a message in the group. There will be a couple of issues with the start, obviously with the Boinkies being AI, Venom being AI. They will probably get away a little bit quicker, and once we have the T-posed mechanics in the pit lane. I do believe it's a problem with the EA launcher version of the game. There's a couple of weird idiosyncrasies between the EA launcher version and the Steam version. The EA launcher version is actually a lot slower, I found. So when I'm launching into the game, especially that's when I see it when there's press any key to exit or press any key to confirm or go forward or whatever the actual wording is. I'll press a key and have to wait 30 seconds to a minute before it actually gets into the game. Whereas on the Steam version, I could get in almost immediately. So yeah, a couple of weird issues with this version of the game. Not 100% sure why that is. Venom not back into the game yet. But yeah, one of those things. Let me just see if Boinkies is around as well. No, he is not. So 3 seconds to go, 1 second, and this will be to the red lights. And there we go, red lights coming on. 5 red lights, and away the lights go, and you can see the AI start going already, and then everyone else gets away. The AI, ooh, a massive snap of oversteer by one of the horses there. One of the AI out in front, we can ignore that, but we see the guys heading into the first couple of corners now. Venom out in front, that was the AI that we saw. Bubbles, Scott, Quentin still holding their positions. Marsh spinning and having to now recover from the back of the grid. Bubbles getting through Venom, Scott getting through him as well. Quentin right behind. Humid not out of touch. Common as well. KQ Microstatic right on the back there, looking at the inside of that corner and takes a nice line through there. Will get the outside of the next corner. Sticks it in there, tries to hold it through there, and looks like he has managed to hold it a good amount of space left by Common there. Great racing by the two of them. Humid getting through, passed by Venom, passing and getting past. Oh, KQ going very aggressive there, and both of them getting through there, but they would have had to slow down quite heavily, and you can see Italian Legend has been brought into it. Common not having the pace, and KQ backing out for a bit. Italian Legend not getting in the way. Italian Legend is one of the reserves, so thank you to him for staying out of the way. Venom, you're getting an invite very shortly. No, you're not, because you're not showing online. Please restart your game, just double check. So KQ Microstatic and Common were fighting it out, will probably continue fighting it out at the moment. Common falling back quite hard as KQ Microstatic does fight his way to try and get up into this. Scott Barreras and Mr. Bubbles have switched positions, and Quentin gets through as well. So Bubbles going a little bit wide out of the final corner and losing a couple of positions as a result, and now Humid is right on top of him. So Humid is on the back of Bubbles, looking at the back of that Red Bull, and once again we have a Mercedes and a Red Bull fighting each other. Venom dropping further down the field. Let me just double check if he has come back in. It doesn't look like we're going to have too much of a fight just yet. Venom is back in indeed. Invite has been sent. We've got a yellow flag in that is Worm Puzzle, I do believe. Moz out at the back, so Moz has obviously had some sort of issue. It doesn't look like he's in the pits, so I wonder if does he have wing damage. It doesn't look like he's got wing damage, so not entirely sure what's happening there with Mars. Venom has rejoined after losing so many positions, now down in 11th place. So really unfortunate for Venom, but I'm sure we'll see him fight his way back through as KQ Microstatic goes through Cops and is now going to follow to Common once again through Maggots and Beckett's, and you can see he's got so much more speed through Maggots and Beckett's, and I wonder if that is maybe a slightly higher downforce setup, as we see Bubbles and Hubert fighting it out. No, Bubbles and Quentin fighting it out, sorry. Bubbles trying to get into that slipstream, maybe looking for a cutback now. No cutback, unfortunately. So he is really, he has so much more pace at the moment than that McLaren, but just not being able to make it past. And the two of them going through here, giving us a display of exactly the sort of thing that we saw in the real life race last year, and Bubbles manages to get through. Both of them staying on the track, and it is great to see them. I do not have load shedding at 9 o'clock, but I do need to turn my inverter back on. There was a massive storm, so I actually unplugged my inverter just so that it protected everything in case of a lightning strike. So I will go switch that back on. Luckily, we don't. I don't think we have load shedding here until tomorrow. So yeah, a great start to the race. Incredible start to the race. KQ has gotten past Common as well. A little bit of lag that he's getting. Oh, and very wide through there. That is. Oh, no, okay, maybe not. KQ having massive internet connection issues at the moment, and that's gonna affect him quite badly. I think that might be why he's 2.5 seconds back from Humid, but Humid is now chasing down Quentin. I will be right back as I go and switch on my inverter once again. Nico B on the back of Gokes as well, so I'll leave you with this as I go and switch back on my inverter. Alrighty, inverter switch back on. Venom, I will send you another invite now as we see Nico B getting past Gurks. Looking at the inside of Stowe, does he manage to make it stick? He does not, so Gurks getting a better exit out of that corner. Bubbles gets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:30.426. I do believe that was contact between the two of them, and Nico B doing the right thing, giving the position back and losing a position to Peter Null in the process. So Nico B losing a couple of positions there. So let me send an invite to Venom quickly. There it is, invite sent, and we can see Venom being mugged by Nico B. Nico B taking the high road there. In as far as sportsmanship is concerned, good to see him giving up the position that he gained from that little bit of contact with Gurks, but then losing a position to Peter Null as well. One of those things, good sportsmanship is the right way to do it, but unfortunately it does sometimes leave you open to that sort of situation. Nico luckily did not get any wing damage, but he's now back onto the back of Peter Null and Gurks. So yeah, a decent race so far, interesting race so far. Humid currently 4/10 back from Quinton, and going through Maggots and Beckets, you can see how twitchy his setup is. In fact, let's have a look at the tires, because I think he is one of the people, yeah, he is indeed one of the only people on those hard tires. Italian Legend and Gurks going hyper aggressive. Ooh, Common and Marsh is trading places. So Marsh coming out of Maggots and Beckets with that extra traction from the medium tires, getting past Common, who is on the hard tires. But interestingly, less than 5 laps in, or now 5 laps in, and I'm seeing some pretty high tire wear from some of these guys. I'm not going to say numbers just in case any of the guys are listening. Venom has dropped once again. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to keep inviting him just for the sanity of the lobby. But yeah, Venom dropping once again. It does seem like the lobby is still fine. Wormpuzzle getting past Gurks. Humid struggling on those hard tires. He does generally prefer a twitchier setup, so it might just be that's causing it. But Humid is definitely struggling on those hard tires, and Quinton is managing to hold the position on the mediums themselves. The mediums, however, are wearing obviously a little bit quicker than the hard tires. Humid does need to be careful of his tire wear. He does often have, because of that twitchy setup that he does like to run, he does often have quite a lot higher tire wear than the guys around him. So he does also need to get past Quinton as soon as possible to get out of the dirty air of the car ahead, get some more downforce onto that car, and get the tires back into the working window. Marsh had a spin at the beginning of the race. He did not disconnect, so yeah, he just had a spin at the beginning of the race and hasn't entirely recovered from that. Obviously, we do have quite a few fairly quick guys out in front as Human is looking to the inside of Quinton, decides against it, gets back in behind as they go through Vale and Club, and oh no, that is not the way he wants to do it, and manages to control the temperature of his tires as he turns around there, but yeah, gets turned around, spins around. I do believe that is just a symptom of his twitchy setup, and now he's down into 7th position, so Quinton can breathe a little easier. KQ Microstatic in 4th. We've seen he is struggling a little bit with lag, so doing well to get up as far as he has. And Venom, I will send you one more time. Let's just try this. We go. Invite has been sent as we see KQ Microstatic going through. Where is this? Are going through Luffield at the moment. So yeah, KQ Microstatic losing quite a bit of time to lag and jumping around quite a lot. 1.2 seconds now. He was at about 2 seconds, so he's going to have a very difficult time to try and pass, to try and tell where the other guys are around him. Humid is right on the back of Common though. He has caught up incredibly quickly to that Aston Martin. Less than 0.2 of a second between the two of them as they head down this little straight into Maggots and Beckets, and he is right on top of that Aston Martin. If that Aston Martin breaks just a little bit earlier than he is used to, he's going to go into the back of it, but does not happen. Gets DRS down the hangar straight and now down towards Stowe. He will have the lead going into the corner. Looks like Common has ceded the position, so Humid now getting back underway and will need to now chase down Marsh. Scott Barreras out in front, having a fairly uneventful race so far. Bubbles in 2nd, Quinton in 3rd, Nico B and Peter Null are fighting at the moment in 9th and 10th, and Wormpuzzle with them in that battle as well. So we'll stick with this battle as it is the closest on the field at the moment. Venom and Gokes switching position as well, so Venom back in and making some time. Italian Legend coming into the pits, so those soft tire runners coming into the pits, 7 laps that those softs lasted. So 6 laps actually that those softs lasted, so not a long stint on those soft tires, which means anyone else looking at the soft tires, possibly these hard tire runners, will need to Nico be not getting the right exit out there and being taken over by Wormpuzzle. But yeah, soft tires definitely not doing great on this track, and any of these guys on the hard tires who are looking at soft tires for their final stint, maybe keeping an eye on that and seeing 7 laps, 6 laps that they can go. They'll need to push these hard tires to 20 laps before they can hop onto the softs, otherwise they're going to have some serious wear on those soft tires. KQ Microstatic on the hangar straight, heading down towards Stowe, is within range of a potential dive, doesn't go for it this time, takes the apex, decides to wait a little bit further. Quinton currently in the McLaren goes in, does look like he hit the apex quite nicely, hits the next, misses the next apex, doesn't take as much of the road as KQ does, and Quinton has spun. Quinton spins into the wall, and that might be damage. It is indeed 23% damage to his front wing. He is going to struggle with that. And hot tires as well. That's really unfortunate. He needs to just cool it down, try and get those tires back under control, but that is really unfortunate for Quinton in that fight with KQ Microstatic. KQ managing to take advantage, put pressure on the car ahead and get through. So KQ up into 3rd position. So Scott Barreras out in front, Bubbles in 2nd in the first of the Red Bulls, KQ in the 2nd in 3rd. Marsh is 4th, Humid is 5th. Marsh and Humid both having those moments. Common in 6th, Quinton in 7th, also having a moment and with damage now. Peter Null 8th, Wormpuzzle 9th, and Nico B in 10th. Peter Null, Quinton. Quinton is actually struggling really badly. I would not be surprised if we see him pit as soon as possible. Going through left field very slowly. He does have that wing damage on the front left wing, so he is going to be running a little slower than usual. And I think that is really causing a massive issue. This is such a downforce heavy track. You wouldn't think about it, but I mean, there you can see how far wide he went just because of that wing damage, I believe. Peter Null has a spin going through cops, and that's really unfortunate for him. Nico B gets 3-second penalty for track limits. I do believe he got that through Maggots and Beckett's. Wormpuzzle on the back of his teammate, and Quinton, as I said, I would not be surprised if he comes into the pits. So just having a look at tire wear at the moment, we're 7 laps in for these guys in 8th and so on. So 7 laps in, looking at the tire wear, we're looking at Quinton getting a 5-second penalty. So from bad to worse there. This pit lane is incredibly slow. It's only a 60 k's an hour pit lane, and it is a very difficult one to get exactly right. So Quinton getting a speeding penalty in the pit lane. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to work out at the moment, but my math is a little poor. Okay, so 8 laps in, and we're looking at about... Sorry, I'm just trying to work this out, and my brain is fighting me. So I'm just going to pull out a calculator because I'm too lazy to try and work it out any further. That's not what I just tried to do. So, in theory, the guys running on hard tires can push to 20 laps without too... It'll be very, very, very difficult. Oh, Quinton leaves session. So I think Quinton may have given up on it with those issues that he's had. Now coming out in 14th position on the hard tires, and I think he may have just left the race. Not entirely sure what happened there, but yeah, so in theory, some of the guys running on those hard tires would be able to push all the way to lap 20 and then get onto the soft tires. There is an exception about that. Quentin, I will send you an invite right now as we see Venom get past. I think that was Nico. I'll double check just now. Quentin. Quentin, not there you are. I was going to say not showing online, but there you are. Okay, cool. So re-invite has been sent. So yeah, as I said, hard soft could be viable, but it's not ideal for one person in particular. It is going to be a very long push, though. It is going to be a very long push. I do know that for an absolute fact. It is to a little bit beyond what you'd normally push a tire to. So if they do go for that strategy, it will be an incredibly difficult run. And I wouldn't be surprised if they would have to actually pretty much go into tire management very soon and try and basically tire manage their way to the end of the race. Quentin, I'll resend the invite quickly. There we go, resend the invite. So yeah, as I said, it would be a very difficult push towards the end of the race, and there would definitely be a situation where they would be they'd be risking, put it this way, if they do run a hard all the way to lap 20 where they would pretty much need to, they would be risking a puncture. Which it is Silverstone, so we all know that. Yeah, no, it is one of those situations that it is theoretically possible for almost all of them. The exception, as I mentioned earlier, is human. Human is definitely not going to get towards that section, that far into the race, without having major issues and without risking a puncture quite early on with the amount of wear that he's actually gone through. So Moz actually on the back of Peter Null. So before I continue that, let's just switch across to him and see what he can do in that Mercedes. Bubbles getting a speeding in the pit lane penalty as well. Yeah, so yeah, the Human definitely not going to get to that lap 20 mark that he'd require for softs. I do know his soft tires also don't last more than about 3 laps on this track, so he's definitely going to be going for a hard to medium stint. And his tire wear is actually pretty much higher than pretty much anyone else, and it is something that I've seen from him time and time again with the twitchy setups that he does prefer. Mars getting past Peter Null now down the hangar straight. Yeah, exactly, that's the thing. Like, it is definitely possible if you go into tire management from the very, very, very beginning. Peter Null popping into the pits there, Marsh popping into the pits. Bubbles is the highest placed person who has pit, goes onto the hard tires. So as you can see, people definitely, yeah, Human doesn't like pit tires. If he could run an old school tire that ran the entire race, absolutely we would see him do that. But you know, just one of those situations. Quinton, yeah, as Rasmus Rogue has said, you do need to prove it. These guys, I do know that a couple of them have been absolutely pushing all day, pretty much. I know for a fact. Bubbles, actually, who were watching, he was actually updating me on his times as you were going through, and he's literally practiced since about 12 o'clock today. He's been just doing lap after lap after lap after lap after lap, trying to get to that 126 time, and being frustrated, and yeah, just like spinning out and so on and so forth. And yeah, like he's shown me screenshots of the various spins that he's gotten and so on. And yeah, no, I know some of these guys do practice hours and hours and hours and hours. I've obviously got them on Discord. I can see how long they're in game. So yeah, no, the guys that are in the lobby at the moment, I know they run practice after practice after practice after practice. So yeah, you're welcome to, you know, decide that whatever you want. But yeah, as I said, these guys I do know. Bubbles, I definitely know he runs massive amounts of practice. KQ, I know from another league, he would not cheat with how angry he gets about just people breaking the game in general and just being bad drivers and so on. He would not cheat. Scott Barros, I don't know too much about him, but he's not pulling away from everyone else, so I don't think that's the case either. Currently on the brand new hard tire, so he should have some pace now. Humid, I know, also spends all day, every day playing this game. So yeah, like the guys out in front are the guys who I know for an absolute fact put in the practice, and that's why at the moment I really don't think there is like an obvious cheater on the field. But yeah, as I said, like it's up to you to decide what you feel is fair, what you feel is possible. Like not everyone wants to move overseas to be able to play in the top leagues. I mean, the esports leagues is predominantly a European league. If you're outside of Europe, you've got massive lag. If you've got massive lag, you're not going to be fast. And it's the same sort of thing as what we saw, and I'm sure Elf will back me up on this. It's the same sort of thing as what we saw in Rocket League. I mean, it's a situation where you've got these guys who can absolutely go onto the world stage and hold their own and absolutely do their level best. And because of the high ping, it's just impossible to compete. So a lot of these guys do have the pace, they do have the talent. It's just that we're located in the wrong place for them to really be able to show that. So yeah, anyway, that's just my 2 cents on that whole thing. But Humid out in front at the moment. Scott, obviously, with that pit stop, Humid is running a little bit longer into the race with those 13-lap-old hard tires. He is going to have to pit quite soon. Just looking at his tire wear, 12 laps to the end. He has gone 13 laps on these tires. He has basically worn them through. So that Mercedes not being kind to its tires. And he is going to have to make a very difficult decision very soon. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were expecting a safety car or two, but we haven't had one. And this is actually another like incredible thing in this particular race. We haven't had a safety car. It's 14 laps in, or we're on to lap 14, and everyone is running really nicely, and we're seeing some decent battling. We're seeing people side by side through many of the corners. Bubbles coming up to the back of Common now. We'll be trying to get past him probably in the next couple of DRS zones. The DRS zones here not entirely too long, so you do have to fight. You do have to make sure that you set yourself up for the DRS zone to be able to get through. I think it is a fairly slow pit lane. It does have a little bit of an advantage just with how it is placed. But yeah, you do lose a bunch of time in the pit lane. Bubbles right on the back of Common, pushing him along at that point through that corner. And Common obviously on the slightly older tires. But yeah, Bubbles managing to push him through there without spinning him out. Very interesting racing there, but now has gotten past with those newer tires, and off he goes. Gokes and Peter Null fighting out in the back there. Gokes is actually one of the races here. I'm pretty sure Peter Null is as well, so the two of them fighting for position quite far back, but obviously having their respective issues. We've got Common and Bubbles obviously still quite close together, but Common is on a different strategy. Common's tires. Okay, so I'm actually fine to give some Worm Puzzle and Nika and Venom swapping positions at the moment. We'll probably go. Actually, let's go have a look at them. KQ Marcus Static getting a 3-second penalty for track limits as these two head into the corner. Which one is that? That is Farm. No, not Farm. That is Brooklands and Luffield. Humid gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So pretty much everyone getting a pit lane speeding penalty. Yeah, Rasmus, absolutely. People would absolutely cheat. I really hope that EA don't try and pull the... Okay, so interestingly with Humid, before I forget, he was running probably about 70% tire wear, 70 to 75% tire wear when he got rid of those tires. Common is currently on 61%. On the same tires, with the same tire age, you can see how much faster Humid goes through his tires. Almost 15% more tire wear in the same number of laps. Rasmus, absolutely. If people want to cheat, they really will. Hopefully EA don't try and implement their FIFA-style anti-cheat in F1, because that is essentially a bootloader that it installs, and we all know how bad that could be. Anyone with any sort of knowledge of IT and IT security will know how bad a bootloader is, and that's essentially what EA's FIFA anti-cheat actually is. And there's a lot of people are worried that that's what they're going to put into place. Venom getting past Italian Legend. Italian Legend, obviously one of the reserves, so won't be fighting too hard, is there because he wants to have fun and doesn't want to impede the guys out in the pro tier. So yeah, good amount of sportsmanship there, letting the two pro tier guys through there. Wormpuzzle now on the back of Venom, so let's see what he can do. He is on the arguably better tires here. They are only a lap old. Venom's hards are 2 laps old. Both of them should be coming into the window right about now. So let's see if Wormpuzzle can make it work through Maggots and Beckets. He will have more traction. You can see 2/10 up through Maggots and Beckets, or 1/10.5 up through Maggots and Beckets, and now he'll try and chase Venom all the way down the Hangar Straight and down towards Stowe. Yeah, no, Moz is actually doing quite well up into 10th place. Obviously, we saw him at the very back near the start. So Moz is doing quite well. He's got 10.6 seconds to try and catch up in that second Mercedes. Wormpuzzle, though, right on the back of Venom. And let's see what he can do. Italian Legend coming into the pits. So he will definitely drop back behind Moz. So Moz has about 12 seconds to make up. He is making up a massive amount of time. Oh, that is because Italian is in the pit. So we can ignore that. So Wormpuzzle, oh, massive snap of oversteer as Wormpuzzle goes through. You know what the problem is? I've just realized that the map is actually... No, the map is right. So why do I keep struggling? Okay, so heading down the Wellington Straight, Wormpuzzle lost a little bit of time with that snap of oversteer going through Farm and Chapel. No, sorry, they're going through Farm and towards Village. But yeah, he is still within a second, so he will get DRS if he can hold on to Venom going through Cops and Maggots and Beckets. Hards take, they really do, unless you've got a very aggressive, 129. So Scott Barreras getting a great time there, 129.529, gets the fastest first and second sectors, but the third sector still belongs to Bubbles, and that third sector is mostly straight. So I wonder if Bubbles is running a slightly lower downforce setup. We'll keep an eye on that gap. 2.2 seconds at the moment, so not quite close enough. Wormpuzzle gets down. I didn't see if he had DRS. Unfortunately, I looked up at Scott and Bubbles during that time. Bubbles has definitely got a little bit more pace, or had a little bit more pace, so he is catching up to Scott Barreras. And let's see what he can do. So Bubbles is currently in second position, Scott Barreras in first, Common in third, doing quite well, but does still need to pit. 17 lap old hard tires. Those things must be pretty much shredded. 71%. We spoke about when he was on 62%. He's now on 71%. 72% going through Maggots and Beckets. He must be like... that is incredible. He must be pushing for that 20% or 20 lap point, which should put him at about 80% if I worked it out right. Pit lap 21. Yeah, I did think that, but there he is. He's coming in now, getting rid of those tires. It's a long run if he goes for the softs. Let's see what he does. So we're actually going to stick with him. KQ should get past quite nice and easily. Marsh will probably get past as well. Humid will likely to get past as well. But Common coming into the pits, and we can see the broken pit lane. And medium tires. That's really unfortunate. He will have newer tires towards the end. He will be able to push to the absolute limit on those medium tires because he's not going to have to worry about tire wear. But that's really unfortunate. I think he was hoping to push to lap 20 or 21 to try and get onto those soft tires. Unfortunate for Common, it doesn't look like it quite worked out. But yeah, it definitely is running a very aggressive strategy, a strategy that I would probably have looked at and gone, nah, I can do that, because I have ridiculously low tire wear because I'm not fast enough to wear through them. But Wormpuzzle currently 7/10 back from Venom. We'll keep an eye on that. Marsh 1.1 seconds back from KQ Marcostatic. So I think this little battle here that we're going to watch, and yeah, 1 second as they go into Maggots and Beckets is Marsh. No, Marsh is still just too far back for DRS. He is going to have to try and just slipstream down the hangar straight. If anyone can confirm, does anyone know how far back 17 seconds and 7 laps? I don't know. We'll see how his last lap is when he when he gets across there. I'll have a look at what his last lap was. Oh, Quentin, sorry, that's really horrible. I know this game does that to a whole bunch of different devices, and that, like, I know everyone has always had massive issues with that. I remember the one guy with the Thrustmaster wheel, and like, Thrustmaster is a massive brand, and for some reason, the moment anything touched him, if he touched the wall, if he touched another car, if he touched a bump too hard, he'd lose all force feedback in his wheel, and then suddenly it's just like limp. So yeah, I know how badly that can affect you. Marsh 6/10 back from KQ Microstatic. I'm sure we'll see this battle before the end of the race. Obviously there will be DRS involved as well, with less than a second between the two of them as they head on to the I'm pretty sure this is the Hamilton Straight, if I'm not very much mistaken, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it is the Hamilton Straight into Cops, pushing through. Will push on the little straight up to Maggots and Beckett so that he hits the DRS zone less than a second through the beginning of Maggots and Beckett's. Breaks a cold apparently for Marsh, so and getting a little bit up to temperature there. So yeah, Marsh running incredibly quickly on the back of KK Microstatic will get DRS down the hangar straight down towards Stowe. Let's see, is he close enough? Not close enough for a move just yet. 0.3 of a second, but he does seem to have the KQ under control. And just looking at the timing screens, KQ's last lap was a 131.138. Marsh's last was a 130.338. Now we get a 130.523 from KQ Microstatic, so upping the pace a little bit, and Marsh getting a 130.487. So losing a little bit of time to the dirty air from the Red Bull in front of him. The main team and the sister team fighting it out on track, and I'm sure it's going to get even better. Farah, I see your message. I found a nice cure. Oh right, that's interesting that it was overheating. That could absolutely be a thing. What did you actually do to stop it overheating? So Marsh currently 0.4 back, is much closer to KQ Microstatic through this section of the track than he was last time, and now within 0.3 of a second we've got a spinner. That is a Ferrari. I do believe that is Italian Legend, so not really representative of the results, but having a spin going through Maggots and Beckett's, lucky to get going again. Obviously those corners are quite difficult to to survive if you do spin through them. Marsh right on the back of KQ Microstatic. Oh, massive snap as he comes through Beckett's and into the Chapel corner, and will have to try and fight back down the hangar straight. Not quite close enough going into Stowe once again because of that snap of oversteer. So that AlphaTauri is struggling on its tires a little bit. Doesn't look like he's overheating them, but does look like the tire wear is a little bit higher than KQ Microstatic at the moment, and that will literally just be because of the fact that they pitted one lap apart. So this battle still heating up, still very much on. Lap 22 out of 26. Out of interest, we were looking at Common, trying to see what his times were. 131.357. So he does not look like he's got the pace to catch up to the guys up in front. So what change did you actually do? Ooh, we see going around the outside. I did not expect that. Marsh going around the outside of KQ Microstatic through Brooklands, and great move there. Marsh pulling it off. KQ Microstatic is ceding the position, but now will get DRS as they go through Cops. Let's see, keeps up with them. 0.3, 3.5. So KQ definitely keeping up with the back of Marsh, and he is not going to let go of that AlphaTauri. He is going to push as hard as he can, get the DRS on the hangar straight, which is the longer straight. He is already pushing the overtake coming out of Chapel, and will get this overtake quite nice and easily. Goes to the outside of Stowe corner, and the two of them go through side by side. KQ will get the outside line, will get the better traction, and it looks like Marsh has pulled out, and Marsh is now right in the wheel tracks of the Red Bull. So once again, a swap for position halfway through. It was two swaps for position in that lap. Great racing by the two of them. Very respectful racing. Well done to the two of them. But yeah, KQ Microstatic in third place at the moment, Marsh in fourth, Marsh right on top of him, and you can see how close they are as they go through farm and up towards village and into the Wellington Straight. KQ Microstatic getting way offline to try and break the toe, heads back towards the racing line. A little bit of lag there, and looks like he did go slightly wide there. No, it doesn't look like he's too wide through Luffield, and let's see what he can do on the Hamilton Straight down towards Copse Corner, and it looks like he's still got the pace. It looks like he's still got it, but Marsh may have just bled off the throttle a little bit, let him keep that position. He saw how powerful the DRS is down the Hanger Straight, and coming out of Maggots and Beckett's, we'll probably see Marsh put on his overtake button, and struggling a little bit with one of the apexes there. I think that was Maggots that he struggled through. Puts the overtake on quite nice and early, as we saw KQ Microstatic do on the final on the previous lap. Gets alongside, goes to the outside, knows there's more traction on the outside of the corner here, hits the apex there, and gets through on KQ Microstatic. So Marsh up into third position, KQ Microstatic dropping down into fourth, and now it's KQ's time. You don't want to be ahead on the final lap with the way that it's going, and KQ is currently behind, so he has advantage for this current lap. If he can stay within 0.4 of a second, he could afford to just hold back there and just let Marsh have this one. Let him stay ahead, save up his ERS. We know Marsh was running very low ERS. We saw Marsh's ERS light flashing on that last lap, so he knows that Marsh is running low ERS. Just use the DRS, keep up, don't do anything silly, and try it on the final lap. That is probably what he is looking at doing. It is certainly what I would do, but Humid is also behind them. Humid on those medium tires. If Humid can make up 1.7 seconds, let's have a look at Humid's laps. 130.364 on the last lap. KQ Microstatic on 131.501. So Humid does have some pace on those medium tires. 1.8 seconds at the moment though, so it looks like he is falling back a little bit. But Humid might come into this in the final lap of the race. We'll go to penalties now, since that is very much what we need to be looking at. Bubbles actually 8 seconds of penalties, so even if he does catch up to Scott Barreras, as he looks like he's going to, he won't be able to get past based on the penalties. Marsh currently no penalties, so this run between KQ and Marsh is purely for the pride of finishing ahead on yeah, 5 seconds on most. All those 5 seconds were definitely the pit limits. I know there were a bunch of people that did get the pit lane speeding, and then the other guys, mostly through Maggots and Beckett's, got those 3-second penalties, which we are not surprised by. But Bubbles getting a 5-second penalty. Oh no, that is, who is that? Venom. Venom, unfortunately, spinning on the penultimate lap, or on the start-finish line of the penultimate lap. That was really unfortunate for him. No damage to the car, but he will no longer be fighting Wormpuzzle. I do believe he was fighting Wormpuzzle in the McLaren there. No damage on Wormpuzzle. Wormpuzzle does have quite high tire wear though, so I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't have the pace to stay ahead of Venom if Venom really pushes, but I don't think he's going to catch 10 seconds in a single lap. KQ Microstatic still sitting behind Marsh, will get DRS once again down the straight, and 0.5 of a second at the moment. Marsh does have higher tire wear than KQ Microstatic by a fairly decent margin, but Marsh and KQ, both of them running very low ERS, both of them with the lights flashing on the back of the car, and these two are going to absolutely fight to the very end. Scott Barreras out in front has had a pretty quiet race. Now on the final lap, Mr. Bubbles just behind him, 1 second back, but not quite able to catch up, is losing about 1/10 in the second sector, which keeps holding him back. is just checking up on the chat. So KQ Microstatic looks to the inside for a moment, decides better of it. So he is going to have one more try at getting past Marsh, and he is going to have to burn all of his ERS to be able to do it, going down the hangar straight. That is where this has to happen. KQ is putting so much pressure onto Marsh every single lap, just looking out, putting himself in the mirrors of that AlphaTauri at every single opportunity, and that proximity arrow must be going absolutely mental on Marsh's car. But KQ Microstatic now, massive snap of oversteer. It looked like as Scott Burris comes across the line, Bubbles comes through in second, 8.888 seconds back, so managed to get within a second on that final lap. KQ Microstatic not quite fast enough down the hangar straight, and that would have been purely because of the ERS difference. When I checked just now, Marsh had about snap of oversteer there. KQ Microstatic almost losing it on the final corner. But yeah, Marsh had about 20% ERS, whereas KQ only had about 9 when I checked it just now. So yeah, KQ burning a lot more ERS through those final couple of laps. Not quite fast enough to catch up to Marsh. Humid in 5th place, Common in, it looks like he's going to come through in 6th, Worm Puzzle in 7th, Venom in 8th, Moz in 9th, a great recovery drive by Moz, and Nico in 10th. Then we've got Peter Nell, Italian Legend, Bunkis, Gokes, and Quinton, our top 15. Quinton leaving the race due to the fact that he suspects the top guys of cheating, but unfortunately one of those things also had a massive spin due to his controller issue. So unfortunate there for Quinton, but yeah, guys out in front: Scott Burrows in the Ferrari, Bubbles in the Red Bull, Marsh in the AlphaTauri, and KQ Microstatic in the other Red Bull, providing an absolutely great race. Humid as well, having that massive tire wear issue, doing very well to end up where he was in 5th position. So Marsh gets a driver of the day. I can't remember where he was. No, it looks like he basically just drove to the same position that he started in. So I'm not entirely sure what the game gave him, why the game gave him that, but not going to argue. So there we have it. Marsh did have a great battle with KQ Microstatic and did win it in the end. So I'd definitely say that yeah, I would agree with that. So there we have it. Scott Burrows out in first, Bubbles in second, Marsh the last on the podium. KQ Microstatic, after a great battle with Marsh, in 4th place. Humid with that interesting strategy and the massive tire wear in 5th. Then we have Common, Worm Puzzle, Venom, Moz, and Nico B, our top 10. Peter Null, Italian Legend, Bunkies, Gokes, and Quinton, our top 15. An absolutely incredible race to watch. Thank you so much to everyone that joined us in the chat. It's been an absolute pleasure to host you guys. It was an absolute pleasure to watch the guys race this evening. A great race, no safety cars, and only a couple of spins. There were very few spins. I think I counted 4, maybe 5 spins. So really great stuff, everyone. Good racing, some incredible wheel-to-wheel racing as well. And yeah, no, it's been an absolute pleasure to watch the guys run around. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us in the chat, and we will check you all next time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Good evening.